Once again, would like to start this week off on the right foot by saying a big, heartfelt thank you to everyone who has showed up over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel and signed up for the lowest possible allowable level of $1 per month. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. It's like 90 cents per month. Fully refundable first 90 days. Would love to have you guys over there. What's the main difference between Patreon and YouTube? Well, at YouTube, I have to be very careful about what I say. There are certain topics I can't even touch, not with a 10-foot pole. Over at Patreon, not so much. It's a different server. That's why I have the Vimeo logo up here. We can upload the videos to Vimeo, which, by the way, isn't free. And Google doesn't care. Google doesn't even look at Vimeo. So they can host the videos, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen the different player that comes up with the videos over there. And we can talk about things gloves off, the way we used to be able to talk about things here. It's just the new paradigm. So would love to have you over there. We have lots and lots of people showing up. It's starting to tip the needle. We're a little over halfway to where we need to be to have parity with YouTube. So would still love to have more people show up over there. 131,000 subscribers here at this particular platform. If I had even 10% of that over there, I probably wouldn't even need YouTube. So one of the things that we talked about over there in depth that really got under a lot of people's skin here was this idea of, in a grid down, power down, shit it's the fan situation, you might see a huge rise in North America in prostitution, and not just in the bad areas, not just in the cities. You would see it in the suburbs. You would see it everywhere. And some people thought, because of the way that I was talking about it and the imagery, I was pushing it. I'm not pushing it. I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there who, for a long time, they have glamorized and lionized the idea of this red dawn, power down situation. They've created video games about it. It's almost as if they're wishing for it. And I don't think they really thought it through. Because if it was their sisters or nieces or daughters or mothers even, I don't think they would be nearly as excited for the end of the world, so to speak. But to start off today's video, I would like to give a shout out to one of my regular viewers and one of my patrons as well. It goes by the handle Shauna D, SHAWNA, space DEE. And she related a story to me over at the Patreon channel, and I would like to read this for you guys because it's a real-world story. And it has some pieces of information in it that I don't think a lot of people think about because it's a very unique story. She writes, Shauna D writes, I would like to comment on this girl I knew about 8 years ago. She was hardworking, so was her husband. They had a kid, a boy, and the boy was sick all the time, and that's where most of the money went. I think she means they both made about $1,200 apiece for full-time work week. I remember the girl I knew had a dental emergency that insurance paid some for, but like only 20%. It was braces for the kid, apparently, which are expensive. She was looking at a down payment of half, $4,000 US, and then over 2 years paying every 2 weeks an agreed upon amount. She was gorgeous and used to be a model. Now this is key. A lot of people don't understand model culture unless they've been associated with it or been in it. Before she settled down, and I am her neighbor, which one day, right before the kid got braces, I heard a knock on my door, and it was the local dentist, looking really confused because this was where she was supposed to live, but one digit had gotten mixed up, and he knocked on my door. Well, Shauna says that she pointed him in the right direction, and she also knew that the husband worked during the day, and that this woman worked third shift, late nights. Well, the kid got braces, and his teeth looked great, and now that they're off, she said I didn't ask, but she knew I knew and got worried I would embarrass her. Basically, what was happening is there had been this agreement that the model would entertain the dentist to some extent during the day while the husband was at work, and apparently, in this case, Shauna relates that the husband knew. She said, I didn't ask, but she knew and I knew and got worried I would embarrass her. And her husband is the one that asked me not to remember or repeat anything about this. And this is the first time in this message to me she's ever said anything about it. She said, I don't think anything less of the couple. They did what they had to do. It was an agreement and it benefited them all. And that dentist didn't get ripped off. He lives really well, and his wife is bedridden with an illness and has been for many years. So that explains what was going on with the dentist, why he was in a position where that would be of some value to him. I have the utmost respect for her, and I think she did an amazing thing for her kid, and that couple is still going strong. And what I took away from it is those two would do anything for their son. I'm glad it all worked out. I wonder what that conversation between them was like sometimes, but for them to be together now and some of the things they've been through, their love is strong enough to withstand anything. People need to not judge things, because I always ask myself, what if it was me? And what would it take to make me do some of the things I see people do? I then pray for them, because I know whatever it is they're doing, I didn't happen to agree with that at that moment or whatever. It must be hard to make someone see that as the lesser evil, and I can bet most of the time it is. The alternative was even worse. Just help one another, love each other, and apply forgiveness always, as Jesus commanded us to do. You won't go wrong following God. Now, not only was this the allegation I made, if things get bad in this country, that you would see decisions like this get made across dining room tables across America, it's also the basis of the story of not only cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, but a series that came out called Black Sails, which was about pirates in the Caribbean in the 1700s. Because they literally did the same thing. It was a story where it was based in a brothel. They had an inn where there were ladies that entertained, and they earned money, and they kept the place running based on that money. But a Spanish ship carrying a lot of gold had marooned, and they got a hold of a lot of quote-unquote currency of the day. A lot of Spanish coins, gold coins. And they were rich, but they realized the Spanish were going to come for that currency. So they had to turn the currency, the real currency, into something else to hide it. And so they did. They took the gold pieces that they found, these pirates and prostitutes, and they converted it into emeralds and rubies and black pearls and all sorts of other things that the Spanish couldn't track. That's the story of Bitcoin. And not only can you not track the currency, you also can't really track the income that the ladies were making in the evenings. There's really no way to quantify or codify that, because there's no supply chain, so to speak. I mean, if you're on the corner selling lemonade, for example, you've got a cost in cups, a cost in the making of ice, a cost of sugar, cost of lemons, all this kind of stuff, and of course your labor. Well, in prostitution, much like in piracy, there is no supply chain for what you need to do. It's just money for nothing. And this is why we talk about psychology, because even after a collapse happens, people will still trade in dollars. People will still trade in things that they know have had value in the past and will continue to have value. Even if you took every single dollar bill in circulation today and you could magically snap your fingers and replace it with a phony, if people didn't know it was a phony, they would still trade it exactly the same way. You could take every single coin, every single dollar, everything, and replace it overnight with an exact fake replica. If people didn't know it was fake, they would still trade in it. And they wouldn't care. It's not backed by anything other than the faith in it. And that's why I use this persuasion thing. It's not about the data about what the dollar's worth. It's not even about feelings about what those dollars are worth. It's ethos. It's what the individual believes the dollar is worth. And that goes all the way back to the idea of Bitcoin and prostitution and piracy. And that's why I use this analogy. The series Black Sails explains this. Those of you who don't understand what Bitcoin is, watch the series Black Sails. It'll explain it. Because all of the allegations they made about cryptocurrency are now being proven completely wrong. People asked, how is this any different than any other Ponzi scheme? And people say, oh, well, you just don't understand how the blockchain works. More than $500 million stolen from world's largest crypto exchange. One of the big promises made by the crypto pushers, these Ponzi schemers, was that cryptocurrency was way more secure because everything has to be verified and nobody would ever possibly be able to steal it from you or from the exchanges. Well, guess what? Here you go. Binance had to halt trading because somebody broke in. See, anything of value can be stolen. If somebody has a desire for it, anything of value can be stolen. Because people have different value systems, period. What's valuable to one is not to the other. I'm sure the story that we told about Shauna's friend, the dentist who had a bedridden wife, I'm sure other dentists wouldn't have done the same thing that weren't in the same position. So it's not like that value system could be applied across the board. So some people, and I'll leave with this particular statement, some people can see the exact same picture, two people, and see two different things. Some people look at this picture and they revile and they recoil and like, ugh. Oh man, I wish that wasn't happening. You know what I see? I see shoes on little feet. I see refrigerators full of groceries. I see Christmas trees, and I see Christmas presents under the Christmas tree. I see a new coat every year for school, and books, and pencils, and paper, and maybe tablets. That's what I see here. That decisions are being made that aren't ideal, but they are facilitating better decisions elsewhere. Pardon me. So, these are the kind of things that we don't necessarily have to dance around so much over at Patreon. We can just say it like we mean it. It's just the reality. And once again, thank you, Shauna, very, very much. I don't have very much social media contact for Shauna D, but you can find her in virtually every comment section of every video, and you can find her, of course, over at Patreon as well. I will leave it to her to put in the comment section any social media links that she wants to share, but this is an interesting story, and it's literally what we talked about with the man and the woman sitting across the table having to make a difficult decision about something. And I think this is probably something she mentioned, that the woman worked in the modeling industry. Well, there's a lot of things that go on in the modeling industry, and I will just leave it to your imagination, that allow women to have this an epiphany moment, and some men as well, that sometimes wealth can be created out of thin air, just based out of a feeling. Usually that's not the case. Usually you need hard currency and capital, and you need an idea, and you need to build something, and you need to sell something and have a cost and a brick and mortar. Sometimes money can change hands just based on a feeling. And that's what models do. Spokes models and sales models of all kinds. And when things get bad, different decisions are made based on priorities. So that's all I can really say here about this. And the series, if you want to see it and you want to look at it clinically and coldly from a business perspective, look at what they were doing and why they had such an advantage over the governments of the day. And join us over Patreon. $1 US. That's it. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great week, and we'll see you guys next time.